Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the, see, now it works. The sound is great. Okay. Can you guys hear me okay? All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 2022 Bella Vista Mayoral Forum. My name is Rusty Turner. I am the editor of the Northwest Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, and our newspaper is one of the sponsors for this event. Your other sponsors are the Weekly Vista of Bella Vista, our newspaper, and also the Property Owners Association, who allowed us to use this wonderful space for tonight's event, and also Bella Vista Community Television, who's providing all the technical assistance for tonight. So we're very grateful for all that assistance, and we are very grateful that you are here tonight. This event's being live streamed, so it's live right now on YouTube channels for the newspapers and also on our Facebook page. So your folks who are not here are able to see it. There also will be a recording of this event, unedited, that will appear on our websites and be available for viewing after tonight and then through the election. So let me go over the ground rules for just a few minutes so you'll know how this is going to work. This is a forum rather than a debate, so we have some prepared questions to ask the candidates. Many of you were very helpful in providing questions for us, and we've tried to incorporate those questions into the questions we're asking tonight. So thank you for those of you who provided questions for us. Each candidate will get a 2-minute opening statement, followed by questions. Each candidate will get 90 seconds to answer questions. It'll be the same question for each candidate, and we'll alternate so that candidates get to answer first on an alternating basis, and the same candidate won't get to answer every question first. And then we will have 2-minute closing statements at the end. The order was determined by a draw just a few minutes ago, and the draw came out the same both times. So we have John Flynn as the first speaker, we have Randy Murray as the second speaker, and Steven Bourke as the third speaker. I would ask the audience not to cheer, clap, boo, heckle, or anything else. We'd like to keep this as informative as possible, so please hold your applause till the end. But I will ask you right now to thank these three gentlemen for offering themselves for service. This is a very difficult thing to do. All right, I will mention the questions were prepared by myself and Bennett Horn, the editor of Weekly Vista, who, by the way, deserves a lot of credit. This was his idea. He was the driving force behind this. So thank you, Bennett, for all your hard work. Also with us tonight is Terry O'Byrne. She's our office manager for the Weekly Vista. She's also our timekeeper. So she'll be the person who's signaling the candidates when they're about to run out of time. If they do run out of time, I will allow the candidate to finish the sentence. He happens to be speaking at the time, and then I'll very politely interrupt him, and we'll move on. So as I said, I want to thank the Property Owners Association as well, if you would express your gratitude to them, and also to BJ and her staff at Bella Vista Community Television. We could not have done this without them. So thank you all very much. So now we'll get to the meat of the matter. Our first statement, opening statement, will come from candidate John Flynn.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the VISTA for sponsoring. I'd like to thank my wife, Linda Flynn, for her love and support. Linda and I have lived in Bella Vista since 2005. We attend St. Theodore's Episcopal Church. We have 3 adult children who live in other states. A little about my history. I was born and raised in Lorain, Ohio. I went to John Carroll University, graduated with a degree in economics, magna cum laude. I went straight to law school at Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland. Graduated top third of the class in 3 years, got a job with the Fortune 200 corporation immediately out of law school. While I was working, I earned an MBA in finance at Case Western Reserve University, graduated cum laude. During my legal career, I was general counsel of 3 different corporations, and on the legal staff of 2 Fortune 500 corporations. I actually came down here to Rogers in 1996 to be general counsel of Daisy, the BB gun company. Linda and I moved up to Bella Vista in 2005, and I was still working full-time at that time. So after my legal career, in the last 10 years, I've taught at University of Arkansas. I've taught finance and business law in graduate school at University of Arkansas, and I'm still on the staff there. I've been on City Council 8 years, Mayor Pro Tem 6 years, Chairman of the Streets Committee 8 years, and on the A&P Commission, Advertising and Promotion Commission 4 years. I'm also Chair of Benton County Board of Equalization, and I'm on the board of Bella Vista Foundation, History Museum, Rotary, and I'm also on Fly Tires, Men's Tennis, and Men's Golf. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I would also ask our audience members if you would silence your cell phones. Our next opening statement will be from Randy Murray.
Hi, I'm Randy Murray. I think I'm working again. Hello, hello.
Yeah, hang on, hold the time for a moment. Are we still on?
Wow, can you hear me? It was going in and out earlier, but now it's not working again.
Yeah, thank you. All right. All right, let's start again with Randy Murray.
Hi, I'm Randy Murray. I've lived in Bella Vista since 2005. My wife and I moved here after we graduated from college to start our family and start a business and live our life here. My grandparents, since I was a little kid, lived in Hot Springs Village, and so I knew what Bella Vista was when we moved to Northwest Arkansas, and it was pretty much the only place we were really looking for a house. I have 5 amazing children. My oldest one's 18, my youngest one just turned 10, and a super supportive wife and family. It's been just a really awesome experience campaigning with my family and feeling the love and support from them, from the community. I'm also very involved in my church. I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I've been on the executive committee in my church for over a decade, and I've served the youth program for probably most of the 15 years. Anyway, I've also been an adult scout leader. I've served on local council, and I have raised a bunch of boys up to be Eagle Scouts. It's been an awesome blessing in my life to serve with the Boy Scouts. My oldest 2 boys are both Eagle Scouts. I'm also an Eagle Scout. I was the Venture Crew Leader of the Year. I served on the staff of the National Boy Scout Jamboree in 2013 and 2017. I've helped with youth wrestling programs and volunteered with that over the years. I've served on dozens and dozens of Eagle Scout Board of Reviews, which is honestly one of the coolest interviews you'll ever give. I've done thousands of hours of service in Bella Vista, from bike trails to Eagle Scout projects, and I love this community. And my wife and I own 2 successful businesses, and Bella Vista is an awesome place to live, and we're just looking forward to being able to give back more to the community.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to the opening statement for Steven Bourke.
Hi, I'm Steven Bourke, and I grew up in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. I am the second of 4 brothers, close together in age, raised by a single mom, an amazing woman who is one of the heroes of my life. Last week I turned 63 years old, and my beautiful wife, Jenny, and I have been married for 37 years now. And she is the best thing that's ever happened to me. She and I together have done the most important work of our lives together, raising 2 adult daughters who are beautiful, intelligent young women. I have 36 years of experience in the corporate world at companies like Phillips Petroleum, AT&T, and Chesapeake Energy. Over the course of my career, I've led large teams of diverse skill sets, and I've had primary responsibility for complex budgets in excess of $10 million. This is an important election for the residents of Bella Vista. It is important for the next mayor to be an assertive leader with management experience and a strong record of serving this community. In my 4 years on the city council, I've tried to raise the bar for how our city councilors see their responsibilities. I show up for meetings having reviewed the meeting notes carefully, having done my homework on some of the more complex matters that we are exploring. Instead of just going with the flow, I've been willing to assert different points of view. I've applied traditional conservative values to every decision I've made. I've stood for community safety and strong police, fire, and EMTs so that they can respond when we need them. I've stood for fiscal responsibility, always living in the city's means and always spending taxpayers' money responsibly. That's your money. I've stood with our business community when they were having a tough time due to the pandemic. I'll share more when we get into the questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Burke. And I apologize, I'll get it right, Mr. Burke.
That's all right. That's all right.
All right, we're going to move on to questions now. Our first question will be for Randy Murray to answer first. And Randy, what particular life or work experiences do you have that make you qualified to be mayor of Bella Vista?
Yeah, absolutely. So my wife and I own 2 small businesses. When I first announced that I was running for mayor, it wasn't very long after that I met with Peter Christie. And probably the first thing he said to me was, "I'm excited that you're running." He said, "Small business owners make the best mayors." And as you look at the city and how the city functions, you know, having great corporate experience is a valuable asset, but having small business experience is an interesting thing because you see every different angle of the business. And as a mayor, you have to see every different angle of the city. If you're specialized in law, if you're specialized in criminal justice or those kind of things, you're great in that one particular field. But as a small business owner, and I mean, I do PR, sales, HR, billing, taxes, all kinds of stuff, and it really does just feel and fit a lot like being the mayor. I've had tons of experience on all kinds of big boards. We do big projects from, you know, multi-million dollars to billion-dollar projects, and being on part of that, you're on the superintendent's meeting and helping coordinate and everything and direct meetings. And I do shotcrete, so specifically on like the Rogers Aquatic Center, everything is led by the shotcrete team. All the pools when the walls go in and that kind of thing. And so you're directing all kinds of trades and different aspects of it, and you have to see the whole project and how everything fits together. And so I bring a lot of experience with that with both of our businesses.
Thank you. All right, we'll go on to Steven Bourke. Steven, same question for you. What particular life or work experiences do you have that make you qualified to be mayor of Bella Vista?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to go back to, I think, where most of our base values and things were formed, and that is as a child. I mentioned that I was the second of 4 brothers close together in age, raised by a single mom. We didn't have much, and it was clear to me early on that if I was going to have spending money like my friends did, some of them got allowances. If I was going to have spending money, I was going to have to earn it. And so at the age of 10 years old, I started mowing yards, and this wasn't uncommon in the little town of Pine Bluff. Mowing yards for $2, a big yard for $3. At 12 years old, I took on the neighborhood paper route. And every day I came home from school after work, I rolled 85 newspapers, I put them on my bicycle, and I rode around the neighborhood throwing papers to my neighbors. And I did all that so that I could be to Little League practice by 5 o'clock. At 14, I went on to the gas station. At 16, I went to the pizza restaurant. At 17, I worked in the grocery store. I've always had a job. When I went to college in Fayetteville, I was there on work study. I was working all the way through college. That work ethic is really important to being a good mayor. And it's carried me through my life. It's carried me through my career. It's something that I think is critical to being a good mayor of Bella Vista, a strong work ethic. I'm here to bring that to that world.
All right, thank you very much. John Flynn, same question to you. What particular life or work experiences do you have that qualify you to be mayor of Bella Vista?
Well, thank you for that question. Going back to the very early days, I was a Boy Scout. I had a paper route. When I was in college, I worked in the summer at Fruhoff Trailer. The next couple summers, I worked in the steel mill. and the open hearth and blast furnace, which are the toughest areas in the mill. And so I did do a lot of work early on. I paid my own way entirely through law school and my MBA. My folks did help me with college. The other thing that I think is really significant is my adult experience. Because of my background in law and finance, pretty much everything that comes up in the city is either legal or financial or both. So I think that background is just about perfect for this kind of work. And of course, my recent experience with city, obviously I have more experience on more different city committees than anyone else. Actually, as far as attendance is concerned, I want to be sure and mention this. In city council for 8 years, I only missed 2 meetings, and I never missed a meeting of the streets committee or the EMP commission. So all told, I attended 308 out of 310 meetings. So I'm really a guy who believes in showing up and working hard. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We'll move on to question 2. And this is going to be a similar question, but I think it's got a little different nuance to it. But and we'll start with Steven Bourke. Explain why you are the best candidate for the job.
Well, I've been on the city council for 4 years. I love Bella Vista. I've been investing in this community for 5 years. I see what it takes to be a mayor. That being on the city council gives me a front row seat to understand what are the problems that we have and how do we solve these problems. This is essential to being a good mayor. Experience counts. Life experiences count. Management experiences count. Leadership experiences count. City experiences count. I have a good combination of all 4 of those things. I'm ready to put those to work for the residents of Bella Vista.
Thank you very much. We will move on to John Flynn. Same question to you. Explain why you are the best candidate for the job.
Thank you. Well, I'll start by saying I really have a lot of respect for my 2 opponents here. But my background as being on city council 8 years, being on the advertising and promotion commission 4 years, that's a totally different look there. They look at the trying to foster growth in Bella Vista, foster business growth and hotel and restaurant growth in particular. And the chairman of the Streets Committee for 8 years, I really got to know the folks in the street department well and see what problems and challenges they face. And I do think we've made a lot of improvements in that area. Being mayor pro tem for 6 years, where you fill in when the mayor is absent or out of town. And also that position is chosen by the other councilmen. And there's no one in the history of Bella Vista has been mayor pro tem anything close to 6 years. So that's very gratifying to me that my fellow councilman thinks so highly of me, that I would have that position so many times. So I feel really good about my background experience, and of course the legal and financial stuff I mentioned before, I think really is tremendously helpful. The financial side is so important in a city like Bella Vista, and something we always have to keep our eye on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Randy Murray, same question for you. Explain why you are the best candidate for the job.
So I've lived in Bella Vista for 17 years. I was here when we were a village before we became a city. I've seen the pains, the growing pains, the good and the bad that's come from it. I look around right now and I notice there's less business in Bella Vista right now than there was 10 years ago. We've been in the biggest economic boom Northwest Arkansas has ever seen, and we have less business in Bella Vista right now than before. The only way we're able to keep the city coffers full is by raising taxes and increasing taxes. I want to bring business to Bella Vista. I know what it takes. I've done it. We've gone through the hoops. The process is probably 5 times slower in Bella Vista. It's more expensive. Our city code was adopted from other cities. It's copied and pasted. That's the first thing the municipal league said was you need code, you need code. And so we just adopted all this code. It all got voted in. We have conflicting code. I'm an expert in that. That's what I do for a living. I read code, I do code, We work in different states, different cities all the time, different counties. We've got to clean that up. We've got to make it to where business can come to Bella Vista. We've got to make it to where business can be here, can succeed here. We've got to rebuild our trust with builders and with businesses in the community so that they can come and do business here. We've been farming out our tax dollars in Bella Vista for the entire length of Bella Vista. We're bankrolling Bentonville, we're bankrolling Southwest Missouri, and we need to keep our tax dollars here by building the trust with the community that we are a place where business can come and thrive.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to our third question. These are going to be a little more specific to Bella Vista. And we'll start with John Flynn. I'm sure we've all heard about the various ongoing conflicts between Bella Vista residents and the Architectural Control Committee, which regulates in some measure what many property owners can do with their land in Bella Vista. What, if any, role should the city of Bella Vista play in resolving those conflicts or addressing residents' concerns?
Well, that's an interesting and rather complicated question. I know there's been efforts for people to get people to understand better the role of the city, the POA, and the ACC, and those have only been so successful. What the ACC is, or reflective of, is a contract that was entered into by all of us who bought property, and it's actually between all of us and the developer. So the point of the ACC is very good, is to make sure that property is kept up and you don't have things that, and most cities have that, only it's on the developments are much smaller. We have one developer for the whole city. So the concept is good. Unfortunately, the execution has been uneven, as you all know, and sometimes just relatively disastrous, the white fence being the most obvious recent issue. So as a legal matter, our attorney actually advised us to steer clear of that issue when it came up recently. But I do think the mayor has a role to play, that he needs to work with the ACC, work with all the different constituencies, and try to get a more moderate position. However, the mayor does not have unlimited power, and that is a contract that we all entered. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question for Randy Murray. What, if any, role should the city of Bella Vista play in resolving those conflicts?
Yeah, so I think we need to do a better job working with the ACC, Cooper, and the POA. I've actually met with Cooper, met with the ACC, met with several members of the POA, and my understanding from meeting with the ACC is that it's a redundant extra layer of government. I think that Cooper has realized that it's an unnecessary thing, and what I was told was they don't trust to give it over to the POA, and they have never been able to trust the city with it. And so I want to build relationships with our developer. I mean, Cooper's holding a ton of the land in Bella Vista that has potential to be commercial growth. They just can't develop it. It isn't that Cooper doesn't want to develop. It isn't that Cooper doesn't want to make money. We just have rules that make it to where it's so difficult, so impossible to develop. If you sell land right now in Bella Vista, anything that's inside the POA that has an easement around it, when you sell land, you give away another easement. And so all that property becomes devalued the second that you sell it in trades hands, if it's the first time it's sold since the city took it. And so there's lots of things that we've done as a city to damage relationships. I want to mend some of those relationships. I want to make it to where Cooper can develop. For Cooper's success is also our success. A developer that can't develop and a developer that's holding almost all the commercial land in Bella Vista needs to be able to develop so Bella Vista can thrive and somebody else can pay our taxes instead of us.
Thank you very much. Steven Bourke, same question to you.
Okay, well, you know, there haven't been too many business opportunities that have been turned down by the city. Perhaps you would have liked for the Dollar General to get put in at the corner of Commonwealth and Eustis. That didn't need to happen. So there is a role for the city to play in determining what businesses are appropriate for Bella Vista. I would say this about the ACC. When you have power, you also have responsibility to use that power with good judgment. And when the white fence thing came up, it was, to me, one of the most ridiculous things that the ACC could come up with. Just shoot yourself in the foot, okay? What is the problem with white fences. And the way I handled it was, I had a next door neighbor, elderly lady, lives in the house by herself. She had a white fence. She was really upset that things were gonna happen to her. And I said, neighbor, I'm going down to talk to the ACC today. I'm gonna speak with them, and I'm gonna ask them, why are they doing this? Do they understand the pain and discomfort they're causing for members of the community for no good reason? It really, that's not where the ACC ought to be practicing. And so that kind of relationship building, that kind of being willing to stand up for individuals is important to that process. Anytime we can simplify what is a complex governing structure, we ought to simplify it. And that starts with the ACC.
Thank you, Ms. Burke. We'll move on to question 4. It's very similar, and Randy Murray will get this one. The City of Bella Vista, as we've discussed, is a very unique situation in that most of the community is part of the Property Owners Association, and the Cooper community owns so much of the land. You talked a little bit about this before, but let's expand on that. How will you as mayor approach developing and nurturing those relationships to move Bella Vista forward?
Yeah, so I talked about that just a minute ago. I can give you an example. The Mercyway Bridge. The Mercyway Bridge has been in the works for over 8 years. It was Chris Sunnison days is when it started going. It recently started. The first communication with the city had with Cooper communities on what the city was actually going to do with the Mercyway Bridge is when the city dropped the bomb on, hey, we've already started construction, you have to give us an easement for a telephone pole. They wanted to just give them some personal property to set a telephone pole over there. Then the city never offered to buy it, city never discussed a price. After we'd already agreed and we'd already allocated funds to start the construction of the bridge, flash forward, Cooper isn't gonna give it up. We aren't willing to buy it. We aren't even willing to discuss with them buying it. So the additional fees were almost $250,000 to do a different telephone pole scenario. And we never even went in and said, hey, we've got $250,000 almost of money to budget. Instead of trying to take land from somebody else, we could meet them in the middle, say, hey, this is what we have. We could buy a piece of this property and do it. That's how we've been dealing. It isn't good. I'm not happy if somebody came and tried to steal my property. I'd like to be compensated for it. The city had an opportunity to do it. They chose to surprise them, ambush them with it, and then we never even went to the table to make an arrangement with them to buy it.
All right, thank you. Steven Bourke, same question.
Well, I think I would agree in a lot of respects with what Randy's saying, and that is, this is about relationship management with Cooper. There's so many essential relationships if you're going to be managing the city. Obviously, there's a relationship with the POA, with the ACC, with Cooper Communities, with Bentonville. These are important relationships that need to be managed. It's time for a new relationship. For sometimes a refresh is a good idea. Between Cooper and the city of Bella Vista, I've spoken with them also. I've been down to their offices. It's time to refresh that relationship. I'm prepared to do that. I think they would entertain me being in that position and working with them so that we can have a constructive relationship and not this back and forth kind of working behind each other's backs.
Thank you very much. John Flynn, same question.
Thank you. The situation with Cooper has been challenging for a long time, and I did meet with Cooper and became aware of the fact that their relationship with the city deteriorated pretty substantially the last year or two, and from Cooper's point of view, certainly. They've been a challenge to work with for quite some time, and you know, I think you need to work with all these constituencies as best you can. One thing about my background as a corporate attorney, I worked with all kinds of groups. Some of them that liked us a lot, some of them were sort of quasi-enemies, and some were just full-blown enemies. And I got very good at working with different people and trying to hammer out whatever is the best deal for the city. So I feel like whether it's Cooper, POA, or anyone else, I'm in a very good position to work with them. And I'm used to that kind of relationship where you work with people and analyze the situation and figure out the best way to go forward. And, you know, that's what I did my whole career. And I feel like my background is perfect for that sort of thing. And Cooper probably will continue to be a challenge in some ways, but you just have to work with people the best you can. And I really think I have a good background to do that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Moving on to the next question, and Steven Bourke will get a chance to answer this one first. Concerns have been raised about the capacity of septic tanks for homes that are already built in the city, especially those homes around area lakes. An ordinance was recently passed regulating the number of bedrooms in newly constructed homes to address those concerns about septic systems. But what else needs to be done when it comes to regulating septic systems and to protect the water quality of our lakes?
Yes. Great question. Yes, one of the things that makes Bella Vista unique is the fact that we have such a large community where so many of us are on septic. And the fact that for many of us, myself included, when we moved to Bella Vista, it represents the first time we've ever lived on a home with a septic system. So there's a lot of education that needs to take place. And the city is endeavoring to do that now. You may have seen it on the city webpage and on Facebook. A lot of information is coming out now. We're probably late in doing this. We don't have an impending catastrophe. What we have is a way of dealing with our wastewater that everybody has a role to play, everybody who's on septic. There are things that we need to know, ways that you handle that, and what it's going to do is keep you out of an expense. So I think the education part of it is the most important thing that we need to do right now. We need to be educating everybody. What not to put down the sink. What's the maintenance associated with your septic tank? What are the signs that there may be a problem on your septic tank? These are things everybody in Bella Vista needs to know. The city is stepping forward to share that information, and they're doing a good job with it so far.
All right, thank you. John Flynn, same question. What needs to be done? What else needs to be done?
Well, I certainly agree with Steve that this education initiative that they've launched is very important and very needed. We came to the realization that you know, some people moved from other places, never been on septic, and didn't really understand what the situation was. But you know, we need to start thinking more long term about the whole sewer septic situation. We're the largest city in Arkansas that's substantially on septic by far. There's 3,600 houses on sewer. So doing the subtraction, that means about 11,000 on septic. Many of the ones before 1985 have metal tanks, which is an accident waiting to happen. We've had information from our, recently we had a gentleman from the Department of Health give us information about septics. And the cost of fixing a septic when you have it on some of these smaller lots, when you have a failure, is astronomical. And there's septic tanks right now that are leaking and people don't know it. It's not just the lakes, it's our groundwater in general. And it's something we're gonna have to really be serious about. It's not a quick fix, it's a long-term problem. We're talking about 10, 15-year plan type thing. We need to gradually get more and more of the city on sewer. And that would solve actually a lot of our problems. Thank you.
Randy Murray, same question.
Yeah, so there's a few things I'd like to do almost immediately. I'd like to make the process to combine lots a lot simpler and quicker and cheaper. We would be able to build a secondary field, have options to do septic stuff. Right now, you're limited to the size of your lot and you pretty much only have space for one tank, one field. If we accelerated the process of being able to combine lots, people could build bigger, nicer houses and have more room for septic in their yard. I'd like to expand sewer. There's several different ways to do it. We don't have to do what traditional cities do. There's step systems, there's all kinds of different ways. Different parts of Bella Vista could be on different systems. They're economical, they're reasonable, they pay for themselves. I think that it's important for a lot of our new growth, especially as the bypass is in on the west side of Bella Vista, to be able to have some of that. Another thing is the state's been really proactive about this. The state and the county are way more responsible for septic than the city is. They have engineers, they have people that are experts in this field. Bella Vista, the design on a septic tank in a 4-bedroom house in Bella Vista is 50% bigger than it is in the rest of the state. But the state's already been really proactive about extra lateral lines and lateral fields. It's 150 per bedroom in Bella Vista. Other places 150 for the first one, 100 for the second, 58 for each additional. And so by the time you hit 4 bedrooms, a tank in Bella Vista lateral field is 50% bigger. And so we're not in as much trouble as people think we are, but we need to be more proactive about sewer and growing our infrastructure for the future.
All right. Thank you. We'll move on to the next question, and John Flynn will have the first crack at it. The city is considering capping the number of homes that can be used for short-term or vacation rentals. Do you support or oppose such a cap, and why?
Well, thank you. As many of you may know, short-term rentals is a issue before City Council at this time, and it's been quite a challenge. Some of the owners of short-term rentals would like little or no regulation, and some of the people who live near them are wanting some solutions. Aside from the cap issue, I have identified 4 different issues that I think the city is going to have to address. First is taxes. It's come to the attention of people on the Advertising and Promotion Commission that some people are not paying their taxes that own short-term rentals. That's not fair to you taxpayers or to the other short-term rentals that are doing the right thing. Second thing is safety. We've got to have, hotels have to have a safety inspection. We've got to have some kind of at least minimal safety inspection. There's a septic issue with some of the folks that are, they have a septic for 2 or 3 bedrooms and they're having 20 guests. That just can't be. And as far as the max number, the council is considering a max number. And yes, I think there's going to have to be a max number. Different numbers are being kicked around. They're in the vicinity of 4 or 5% of the number of houses in Bella Vista. And the reason that's necessary is because some communities have completely lost their identity because they've been overwhelmed.
Thank you. Time's up, so thank you. Next, same question for Randy Murray.
Yeah, so I am in favor of having some kind of registration. I think it's important to know who owns the property so we can get a hold of them if there's some kind of emergency. I think this is a big private property rights issue. It's what it boils down to. I feel like a lot of the things that are being proposed is somebody else trying to control property that they don't own. We've had before where people want to try to regulate in different cities and even in some ways here, people trying to regulate you running a business out of your house, even a business that people don't drive up to or pick things up or you're selling merchandise out of your house. And so there's definitely a lot of different ways that people can regulate what you do in your own home. And I'm a big advocate of personal property rights. That being said, as far as the cap goes, at one point in time when vacation rentals had it, they had over 600 short-term rentals. There was only about 8,000 to 10,000 houses, I believe, in Bella Vista at the time, which puts the rate between 6 and 7.5% of all the homes in Bella Vista were short-term rentals, all managed by monopoly, one company. Now in Bella Vista, there's 15,000 homes. There's less than 500 of them are short-term rentals, which puts us at under 3%. If we're going to do any kind of cap, we need to do something that can grow as Bella Vista grows. It needs to be more of a percentage than just a hard lid. It doesn't need to be where it is. It doesn't give Bella Vista any place to grow. It devastates some of our local businesses.
Thank you. Steven Bourke, same question.
Well, as a member of City Council, I've advocated since the very beginning of this discussion on short-term rentals that we keep it streamlined and simplified. And that is, we require short-term rentals to register with the city, to indeed get a permit, so that we know who they are and how to get a hold of them. And through enforcement, many of the concerns that our residents have brought to us, if you live next door to a short-term rental that's improperly managed, it is a problem. And many of the things that they brought to us are things that are already addressed by city ordinances. And so through enforcement, we can be stronger. We can recognize that this is a short-term rental. These are not necessarily residents of Bella Vista. We can do a better job of enforcing. We can make sure taxes are being paid fairly. just by a simplified, streamlined registration process. Some residents are concerned we're going to be absolutely overrun, like other towns have been, Lake Tahoe, Breckenridge. We're not on our way to being one of those towns. So if there's a cap out there, I would favor a cap that has room to grow. And I don't disagree with Randy. At one time we had 600. We've got fewer than that now. And we've got room to grow. This is not bad for Bella Vista. Short-term rentals are how many of us discovered Bella Vista in the first place.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to the next question, and Randy Murray, you will get to answer it first. As mayor, what will your approach be to economic development in the city, and what are the challenges the community faces in bringing new businesses to town?
Yeah, so right now, I feel like we just, in the community in Northwest Arkansas in general, we just have the worst reputation of a place where you can grow, where you can start a business, and where you can develop. It's kind of notorious for that. So we need to fix that. I'd like to lower some of our permit fees. I'd like to say, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to be more competitive in the permitting process. Instead of being the most expensive, maybe we can be the cheapest for a while. And we'll advertise different businesses that we're interested in having in Bella Vista. A laundromat, that'd be nice. There's a coffee shop in Bella Vista. There's 50 of them in Bentonville. People from Bella Vista drive to Bentonville to get coffee. They drive to Hiawassee to get coffee. And I don't even drink coffee. And anyway, but I think there's so much opportunity in Bella Vista to grow businesses that make sense. I'm talking little shops, mom and pop things, retail, privately owned, where the owner's connected to the business, the owner's interested in the success, where we as a city can directly affect the success of a business. I think we need to be more proactive at just letting people know, hey, we're changing our ways. We're going to be more inviting to business. You can succeed in Bella Vista. We have a big population of people, and there's almost no competition for whatever business you're about ready to open. And so I think just by getting the word out on that we're changing our ways, we're softening some of our regulations, then we can make Bella Vista thrive.
Steven Bourke, same question.
Yes, well, you know, the number one way to attract more business to Bella Vista is to support the businesses we have in Bella Vista today. So it starts with the concept of a program that the city sponsors that is about shopping local. We have a business association. The more we make these people successful, the more other businesses will want to come here. Yes, we have limitations based on the amount of retail space that we have. There are many entrepreneurs in Bella Vista right now that would like to have a brick and mortar shop if the rents were affordable there. Why these things sit vacant month after month, year after year, is beyond me. There's a business plan that needs to be checked at the commercial property owners level. So as long as we're supporting our businesses, Bella Vista has always been a residential and a recreational community. In fact, we have, as being part of Benton County, we have a very strong financial base as it is today. Every dollar that gets spent in Benton County, a portion of it comes back to Bella Vista. Our revenues from county sales tax, city sales tax, and property tax have gone up year after year for the last 6 years. We have a strong economic base. We need responsible people to lead how that money will be spent.
Thank you. John Flynn, same question.
Well, thank you for that. You know, some of our challenges with business in Bella Vista have to do with some of the owners of the land. I do agree with the concept of definitely supporting the businesses we already have. And we have had significant growth in our city income tax and our county tax, as Steve noted. So what I'd like to see, I think what Bella Vista needs to do, have a small hotel. I'd like to see a few more restaurants. Most people are favorable to that. However, I don't think it's a contest to see how fast we can grow. I think it's really important to protect the lakes, the trees, the natural environment, and keep the relaxed atmosphere in Bella Vista. So I don't think it's a contest to set a record for growth by any means. The other thing I'd like to mention about it is there's some things that don't appear to be business related I think if we had a charter school on the west side, that would have some effect on business as well. And increased broadband access would have an effect on business. You know, there's places in Bella Vista where it's difficult to get the proper internet access and whatnot. So there's a lot of things we need to work on, I think, to help the business in Bella Vista.
All right, thank you very much. We're going to move on to the next question. And Steven Bourke, you will get to answer first. What is your vision for the Bella Vista Public Library and the role it plays in the quality of life in this community?
Wow, great question. I grew up before internet, and so I spent time in libraries as a young person. It was a safe haven, a place to read books, a place to do research. We didn't have internet to go to. It's almost hard to fathom what that looks like. Now, I've been to our library. Our library is run by people who are really responsible, caring people. And we've got a beautiful facility there that we recently expanded, added another community room to it. Our library is one of the crown jewels of Bella Vista. It's as essential to our community as any other of the aspects that we have here. And we have it in a good management team, a good staff. They're taking care of things. They're doing things responsibly. They're setting up programs for our kids. I think our library is outstanding.
Thank you. John Flynn, same question about the library.
Well, I'm really glad you raised that question because, you know, with the city, there's so much focus on the police, the fire, the roads, all of which are very important. And sometimes the library gets kind of forgotten about, and it really is important to the community. You know, one thing I've been impressed with is the addition to the library, how much it has enhanced the library. When you walk in there now, they've got some new young staffers, and you can feel the energy and the excitement in there. It's just amazing that I don't know if I've ever seen a building where an addition changed the building so much. And, you know, we owe the Library Foundation a big debt. They worked hard for a long time to raise money for that. And it's been a huge plus for the community. I think it's something we need to build on and continue to work on because, you know, a library is something that can help the very, very young and the very, very old and everybody in between. So, yeah, it's an asset that definitely needs to be nurtured, and I'm pleasantly surprised that it came up in the question.
And Randy Murray, same question about the library.
Yeah, so I love our library. It's a beautiful building. There's beautiful art. There's art on the outside. There's little fireflies hidden all over the place. Fits perfectly in Bella Vista. It's the rock architecture. The addition of the community room has provided opportunities for gatherings of different things. The awards for the Arts Council and that kind of thing are held there. And there's a lot of services that the library provides that I think are fantastic. I love books. I'm a big fan of having a book in your hand with pages that you actually turn. I'm not a big screen time guy. My kids don't play video games. We don't have gaming systems. I'm a big fan of books. They have so many other things that the library does that I think are fantastic. They have an unbelievable selection of DVDs that you can rent for free. And you just show up, give them your library card, and you can check out movies, tons of them. Another thing that they've started doing is metal detectors. They have metal detectors. You can go with your library card, get a metal detector for free, and go unearth buried treasure. And so, anyway, I think it just provides so many things, and I think the library is making a great effort to stay relevant. They're looking at cool ideas other cities are doing, and I think it's great for communities like Bella Vista, for especially young people, to go and discover something special in a library.
All right, thank you very much. We'll move on to our next question. John Flynn will get to answer this one first. There's a study underway to evaluate city employee salaries, including the police and fire department. Department heads have expressed concern that they are losing good employees to higher salaries in other communities. As mayor, how would you address this issue?
Well, that certainly is a topical issue at this time. You know, in one of the earlier years, we on council were surprised to hear there's about 160 employees in Bella Vista, and 48 of them left, actually, in 1 year. Only a couple of those were involuntary, all the rest were people leaving. So it's a big challenge. You know, taxpayers sit around, everybody says, oh, I'm gonna be fiscally conservative and save all this money, but you have to deal with the realities of life and the job market and the way it is, and it's been a big challenge. As a lot of you have heard on the news, the job market's changed quite a bit, and it's not just for workers in restaurants, it's on all different levels. So I think the salary study is underway, and that's the right thing to do at this point. I know the council and the mayor are very supportive of the police and fire, and all the employees for that matter. And we're really looking to compensate them fairly and figure out what that is, and also create a culture where they would enjoy working here and be happy to stay. So, you know, I heard a lot about this last spring when I was at the Citizens Police Academy. And it's a big challenge on the police side, partially because of the national publicity against police in other areas. So it's something you really have to look at.
Okay, thank you. Randy Murray, same question.
Yeah, so it's something that my wife and I have dealt with for years. You have to stay competitive with your wages to get good people and to keep them. I know our police department specifically, since Chief Graves has gotten here, has done a fantastic job getting better people in. We have a lot of departments that are really trying their best to train people and to do well with the people that they get, but we have to be competitive with our wages. You get way better employees, they're more loyal to you if you pay them better, and so we have to be competitive. We want people to be able to come to Bella Vista, make a good wage, want to stay here because it's a good work environment, and because they've got competitive pay. And so we have to constantly be vigilant on that. We can't fall behind in the market, lose a bunch of people, and onboard a bunch of people we really don't want, but we're so desperate for help, we're hiring people that we shouldn't. I know specifically with the police, they've done such a great job as far as being able to be more picky now. The department keeps getting better, the reputation is getting better, people want to come, they get more applicants, they're able to kind of weed through the applicants a little better, and they're being more selective on who they choose. We have a little more competitive wage, it makes that process even easier, and so I want the city to have the best employees, and I want our city to have people that we trust and people that we can trust when we're not watching.
Thank you very much, Steven Bourke. I'm sorry, I did it again, sorry. That's it.
I don't think the city has any more important responsibility than to make sure city staff are fairly compensated, because there's a whole cycle that attaches to that. If they're not fairly compensated, and if we have high turnover, it affects the very services that taxpayers are expecting. So it starts with making sure they're fairly compensated, to be able to attract and retain them, and then building a culture where our entire staff feels appreciated, recognized. That is half the equation as well. As mayor, I would want to make sure we're recognizing our city staffers properly. We have heroes all across. Yes, obviously, our firemen and our policemen are heroes. But you know what? We have heroes on the roads crew too. We have heroes in community services. They're out there working with people every day, trying to do right, trying to deliver the services that the residents of Bella Vista expects. We can build on this. There is no more important responsibility that the city has than to take care of our city staff.
All right, thank you very much. We'll move on to our next question. Randy Murray, you will get to answer first. We've talked about a lot of different issues tonight. If you're elected, what will be your top priority when you take office?
I think I want to try to really start by just mending relationships with the POA, the ACC, and the community. I know 17 years I've been here, I know a lot of people that have gotten their feelings hurt, they've gotten run over on different things, they feel like their rights are getting violated. I've got some friends, their house burned down in the last year, and the process of trying to get their house rebuilt was so long and so slow and so painful, they finally gave up, sold their lot, and moved to another city, and kind of dusted their feet on Bella Vista on the way out the door. And it's sad. It's sad to see that. And so I want to try to mend that relationship and make it to where, and if you've invested in our community, you want to live here, this is a place that's going to take care of you. This is a place that's going to be, you know, a warm, loving place to live. I'm running for mayor because I want my kids to move here. I want, when my kids grow out of college, I want them to move here. I want my grandkids to live here. I want this to be a place that I can live for the rest of my life. When I moved here, it was immediately home. I plan on living the rest of my life here. I felt that way within the first couple of weeks of being here, and I think that's one of the responsibilities of the mayor is trying to look forward to the future and make things what we want them in the future instead of just right now.
All right, thank you. Steven Bourke, same question.
What are the highest priorities? The number one priority is the way you said it. I'm going to state two. There's two that are non-negotiable. We are a safe community by any comparison across the entire state. We will not sacrifice that. Growth can affect that. We are going to remain a safe community where people, when they need the police department will be there. When they need the fire department will be there. When they need an EMT, the EMTs will arrive. That's the kind of safety that we depend on. That's why we moved here, and we will not sacrifice that for growth or any other reason. The second thing is, we're going to be fiscally responsible. I've got good news for you. Our financial position is actually very good. For the last 6 years, our primary sources of revenue, which are county sales tax, city sales tax, and property sales tax, they increase every year. This can be a two-sided sword, but we live in Benton County, one of the most prosperous counties in the country, and this serves us well. Every dollar spent in Benton County, a piece of it comes to Bella Vista. We have a good economic base as it is. This just requires responsible management. I'm prepared to do that.
All right. And John Flynn, same question. Top priority if you're elected.
Thank you. For me, the top priority has got to be fiscally conservative. It's really important to keep the costs low. And, you know, our revenue is pretty good, but it's not like Nike shoes where you sell 100,000 shoes and, oh, well, next year we'll sell 1 million shoes and have all this more money. Even if we increase our business and get a little more sales tax in, it's only going to be incremental. It's not going to be some spectacular amount. So it's absolutely essential that you don't spend too much money. If you get over your skis and get behind financially, it's very, very hard to dig out because you just don't have the big revenue to do it. So I'm looking at being fiscally conservative as being number one. Also very important is the first responders. You know, our police and fire are spectacular. I mean, the leadership we're getting out of them is just unbelievable. I'll give you an example. The police have a program called Good Morning. So if you're an older resident, you can sign up. And they actually call you in the morning to make sure you're okay. None of the other cities have that in Northwest Arkansas. The fire department is the only city that gave COVID shots. The only one in Northwest Arkansas. They even come to your house. Some people were raving to me. They couldn't believe the firemen came to their house to give them a COVID shot because they couldn't get out.
Thank you very much. Well, we've been at this about an hour, so I think it's time for our closing statements. So I'll remind our candidates and our audience that we have 2-minute closing statements from each candidate. We determined the order earlier by draw, and we will start with John Flynn, 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. I want to thank everybody who showed up and for your attention and all those folks looking on the streaming and whatnot. Really appreciate your interest. I want to elaborate a little on my background. You know, I had so much background I couldn't fit it in the 2 minutes. I want to remind you that I've been to, in 8 years, 310 city meetings, and I attended 308. It's unprecedented level of participation. I want to give you a little elaboration on the Bella Vista Foundation, where I'm vice president and on the board. In the last 6 years, Bella Vista Foundation has given over $200,000 to local charities. That's just from the Pro-Am golf tournament. On the Rotary, which I've been on for 10 years, in the last 10 years, Bella Vista Rotary, which only has 32 or so members, has given over $250,000 to charity. So it just shows you what you can accomplish if you work together with people. Now, people ask me about my vision for the city. As I mentioned, I'd like to have a small hotel, a few more restaurants, but it's really important to preserve the lakes and trees, our natural beauty. That's what people like here, is the nice environment. That's absolutely crucial. I'd like to see a charter school on the west side. I'd like to work to increase broadband access. I think it's awfully important to listen to the people on an ongoing basis. What do the people want? That's what we're supposed to do, what the people want. And in summary, I'd like to say I'd like to increase the quality of life while being mindful of the cost of living, be fiscally conservative, keep taxes low, and support our first responders. So thank you very much, and I'd ask you for your vote on November 8th. Thank you.
Thank you, John Flynn. Randy Murray, 2 minutes.
Yeah, so I'm super invested in the future of our community. Like I said, I plan on living a long, long life in Bella Vista. I've been here 17 years. I plan on growing old and dying here. I have a thriving business. My wife and I have 2 businesses. I'm willing to step away from my business. I've been saying that from the very beginning to do this. Like it'll be a huge salary cut for me to do that. But I'm willing to do it because I love Bella Vista. I'm invested in this community. I want this to be a place where my kids can grow up and return and live, and my grandkids can live also. One thing that I see is, and we're bulldozing down buildings, there's buildings sitting empty. I don't want Bella Vista to become Rogers. I don't want Bella Vista to become Bentonville. But when a tax dollar is spent in Bella Vista, we get 333 or 335% more money from that tax dollar if it's spent in Bella Vista than we do if it's just spent in Benton County. If we get $0 if it's spent in Missouri. And so I want to try to keep some of that money here. I want our shops to be able to thrive. I want little businesses to be able to come. I want people to be able to move here knowing that this is a place where it's fun to shop. I want when people come to ride mountain bikes here, instead of just driving on our roads and riding mountain bikes on the mountain biking trails, I want them to be able to come to a shop. There's something to buy here besides groceries. The grocery stores benefit from it. It's a fantastic thing, but there's a lot of other things that could benefit from it. They say, I think it's $255 per day per out-of-town mountain biker is what they spend, and we're capturing almost none of that. We're just letting them come use the infrastructure. We're keeping almost none of that money here, and so I'd like to see some of that. I'm invested in our future. I'm fiscally responsible also, but we can't just increase taxes and increase fees and fines as a way of paying for stuff.
Thank you very much. Steven Bourke, 2 minutes for closing statement.
This may be naive in today's world, but my vision for Bella Vista and my desire for this community is that we will transcend divisive national politics. When it comes to what we want for Bella Vista, I believe it's possible for people of differing political views to want the same things for our hometown and to work together to achieve those things. We want a safe, clean community where neighbors look out for each other, where we can feel like our voices will be heard by our city leaders, and we have city leaders who we can trust. Not that we will always agree, but that we're confident our city leaders don't have personal agendas or vendettas against the city. We want a community where essential businesses can thrive, whether it's a small business entrepreneur or a large business that employs dozens of employees. Yes, a strong business community creates jobs and incomes that support Bella Vista families and provides goods and services for all of us. These are the things we all have in common. If we lock our arms together and trust each other, we can have a beautiful, safe community, a place where we are proud to live and can spend the rest of our lives. I base my entire campaign on 3 simple promises. I will always bring a strong work ethic to the full-time job of being mayor of Bella Vista. I will always conduct the city's business with honor, and I will always be forthright with the residents of Bella Vista. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for being informed. Thank you for being concerned.
I want to thank the audience for your attention tonight, and now is the chance you get to applaud these gentlemen. We talked about this earlier. Running for office in this day and age is not easy, and I admire all 3 of you for putting your names out there for this job. So congratulations on your candidacies and good luck to all 3. I want to thank very quickly our sponsors before we go, Bella Vista Community Television, the Property Owners Association for allowing us to use this fabulous space. I want to thank all of you for coming, and I want to just remind you that the weekly Vista is there for you, and so is the Northwest Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. If you're a subscriber, thank you. If you're not, there's a QR code up here, so come take a picture of it. You can get one of our free newsletters and you can see what you're missing. But please, please consider doing that. Thank you very much for your attention tonight, and good night.
Good night.